Hey everybody, Tim Higgins here again. So, you obviously know that you're on my channel. What I want to do is walk you through today on how to set up your IDE to work with the code inside inside of Amazon. Now, I'm going to try to keep this a little vague to a point. And there's a lot of good blogs out there that kind of help you do this, or a lot of commercial things out there, but I want to show you how to set it up, get it working, and then possibly run some of the examples of the models that we talked about in the previous videos I did. So the first thing we're going to do, and I'm just going to talk through this quickly because I don't want this to be a long video like the other ones, right? So what we're going to do is, this is the project template that comes down when you do it, and notice it automatically does a hello world for you. The cool thing is I'm automatically connected to my environment, so I can see my S3 buckets and things like that. Here's the ones I did for the code gen, which is kind of cool. And if I have RDSs and my Lambda functions are kind of here, which is really cool. So I can work directly off this. Now, when you do this, you'll get a template looks like this that already has the Lambda handler in it. I talked about that in the previous videos. And of course, I'm going to share all this with you as I move through this because we're going to do this together, right? As far as a learning, cool, awesome experience. Now, if you remember the other videos, I focused on Ubuntu 3. So that's kind of what we're going to do here. I did this one against, so this is just a client. This is the demo that it gives you. And I said, what is the best step for learning to play guitar? And I ran it. It was very fast. And notice this is it. I'm trying to keep this very vague, just for public's sake, I guess you could say. The other thing too is I can take this Amazon one, because we didn't talk about this. And here I'm using the Amazon model. And I'm saying, write me a blog about telling someone how network works. Okay, so that's more a realistic example. So I'm going to run this. It takes a few seconds. I did realize the Amazon Titan took a little bit longer to run. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's general location or something like that. Notice here I didn't put east or west for my running, but I'm going to get all this set up for you. Now, I'm using JetBrains. I say it all the time. So we're going to focus on JetBrains, but I'm assuming it's going to be the same for all of them. Now, while that's running, the first thing you want to do is go to your AWS and you want to download the CLI, okay? So let's maybe get a notepad going. Is that possible? So step one is we're going to get the CLI, okay? Now, that's an Amazon tool. I have other videos. Oh, here's my blog, by the way. Kind of cool too, right? So if you notice, I'm running this local. I'm not running this in the cloud or anything like that. Let me show you this one too. This one is the boilerplate that comes down. We're going to actually just do a REST call on this one. And the cool thing is we can actually do this one straight in Docker. I'll show you how to set up that configuration if you want, but I can just say run in Docker. And if I have my Docker open, you can truly see, it may air out because it takes a few minutes. Oh, it just came out and popped away that fast. And I'm pushing in a fake API, and there it is. So that's kind of cool, right? So that's a configuration setting. If I go in here and say edit, you can see this. This is what it's passing through. And this has a lot of templates that you can use in your coding and in your testing, which is really, really cool. So in this case, I'm just using the hello world one. And it kind of pulls back, which is really, really neat. So most important is you need a CLI. Okay, and notice I said build the function inside of a container. You probably didn't have to do that. You probably could just run it local, but in this case I did. It also wants to know my AWS connection. We're going to talk about that. And my default region here is East, and you have a default profile. Now what I was saying is in the past, I did another video about doing Kubernetes up in the cloud, and doing Kubernetes, you had to have the CLI running. So let's go take care of that real quick. What is this? Okay, so that's okay. So if I go in here and I type in CLI, let me see the best place to get this. Let's just do download Amazon command line interface, because that's what CLI stands for, right? Command line interface. All right, so we want to do probably this one. Now I already have it set up, so let me see. Yeah, this is it. So install, update, and latest. You want to come in here and match yours, okay? So in this case, just download it. In this case, I think it says update. And you're just going to walk through this. It's really not hard to do. I did this one, and that installed it for me. Now, the few things, you also want to make sure you have Docker running in this case, just in case. Now, when you have this running, I think there was a little setting that I had that I made it, that was a boo-boo. Give me 1 second to think about this. Oh, the freaking, I don't know why I thought about this, but I did. I think it's called SAM. So let's pull this up. So if I say CLI, I think it's just CLI version, AOS version maybe. Yeah. So that sees the CLI. Okay, so it's AWS. Now the SAM was a little tricky. It might want 2 slashes. Let's see, SAM. Yeah, okay. So that one was a pain to get installed, and it wasn't so much installed. I will tell you this. I am using, in this case, I'm using the, let me get up here. I'm using, when you do JetBrains, you have quite a few options. And I never could get it to work in PyCharm. I'll go back and see why. But for some reason, the SAM would not recognize in PyCharm. So I'm using the IntelliJ, which is the Java framework. But it's still the same IDE in a way. Actually, the IntelliJ is, you know, that's the big one. That's the Flagstaff. That's the huge one, right? So I must have run these updates while I'm here. So I got it to work in it. So let's look at that too. So download Amazon. Now, I did a lot of research on this. It really, you can see where I went into it. It really wasn't easy, I guess is the right way to say it. But you come in here, the install was easy. Setting it up was really complicated. So I went here and picked this one, and I just ran the package. Okay. And once you run the package, you need to know where it's installed. And that's pretty easy. You can just say which, okay. And that's where it was having problems. For some reason, PyCharm couldn't pick this up. But the IntelliJ did, okay. So to recap, I don't know what I have open. Okay. So get the CLI. Number 2 is download Amazon SAM, and the SAM stands for the serverless application model. So that's what it stands for. Now you may or may not want to use that, but to do this example over here and to do all this, I did. So I'd recommend doing it because it doesn't hurt. The next thing you got to do is set up your user. Okay, this is the part that. Set up user. This is the part I did in the other videos. I know I seriously doubt whoever's watching this did not watch those videos because they were a long time ago. But when I walked you through how to set up your Kubernetes environment, I actually did this for you. The thing that you want to do is once you're inside your AWS, let me see if I'm still logged in. Yep, I am. At this point, you need to set this up and give it permissions. So what you do is go to IAM, your identity manager, and make sure you're using a user who has good rights, okay? So in this case, mine. Now, notice I have administration. I gave myself the API gateway administrator. I probably don't need all this because I said administration, but I went and did S3, the cloud format, full access, and Lambda. So these are kind of what we're focused on, but I think if I have this, I probably have all those built into that. So the next part I did was, let me see. Yep. So I created a group. I'm just trying to think. I was reading this. So I created a group, and inside this group, I added myself. But in the group itself, if you look, so that way we can add other people to this group. Okay. Notice it was defined yesterday. If you look at the permissions, this is what that group has, which is pretty much the same thing I have. But that way you can just add people to this group. And that made it a lot easier because the next part is, it's not hard, but I don't know if I can show you this. I may have to blank this out. So if I go back to my users and we go to access management, identify, give me 1 second. Bam. Oh, access advisor. Is that it? Or is it critical? Hold, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. No, let's go here. So security credentials. There we go. That's what I wanted. Now here, if you scroll down, you'll see that I created an access key. So let me say that one more time. In your users, okay, just because I was thinking, I really should write this stuff down before I do a video, but I think it does you a favor and me a favor if I kind of stumble through it because you figure it out with me. Now, if I click on my user and then I go in here and I go to security credentials, make sure I have the right permissions. Again, I think the group is kind of relative in this situation because I'm assigned to that group, but that group has the same permissions as I do. I was just thinking once we add more people to my team, not you, then I would just give them that permission. Okay. And then you come down here and you look for your access token. I think I just passed it. Access keys. Now, this is mine. I don't want to say open access, create access to key. I will, but let me see if I need to cut it. No, okay, we're good so far. It says, what do you want for your key? I said other, okay? And then if I hit next, what I'm trying not to do is show you my access key. You can give it that, but I didn't do that, okay? That's just a tag. And then you say create. Now that create is going to create an access key for you. There's two of them. There's a key and a value, I think, but save them both. It's pretty common sense when you get there, but you need that. So I'll say that one more time. Go to Identity Manager, and this is normal, right? You should know how to do this if you use Amazon. Go to your users. In your users, I'm clicking on me. Inside me, make sure I've got the right permissions to do what I want to do, and then go, because if you do this key is based off those permissions. So you can't make the key, then go back and get permissions. Okay. Then go down to create key. Create access key. I don't know why this part's fairly new. I don't know why Amazon cares. Like, I don't know why it's asking you. We're doing this, but I'm also doing more stuff than that. So I really wasn't sure. So I just said do this. Okay. And then it just says, okay, fine, whatever, continue. So that's what I did. Now that would give you a key. Once you have that key running, and once you have your everything installed, your SAM and your CLI, you're almost done. The next part is fairly simple. Let me just minimize this. Sorry. The next part that you want to do is give. I hate the way in the Mac when you close something, it opens something else, right? If I minimize something, just leave it alone. I'll take care of it. The reason I've said it is I kept minimizing these pages and it kept popping up, which I don't even need that one anymore. So, but here what we're going to do is give the CLI our user token. Okay. So there's kind of a 3B here, right? Or 3A. And I don't know if you can see this. It's maybe itty bitty on the screen. Let's do this. So give permissions, and then 3B is create token. Token has two values, and I don't remember what they are, but they're common sense. Copy them to a notepad. You can download it as a CSV. I recommend that. And then you're going to give it this by typing, I think it's CLI, or no, it's everything's AWS after that point. So it's AWS/config. Okay. And then that will allow you to put in your values. Now I don't want to do it because I may overwrite mine or it may show mine to you, but it's going to say 4 things. Okay. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay. So in those 4 things, you have your key, I think it's called a token maybe. And then it's going to ask you for your default region. You don't have to add this in, but I recommend it. Is it called a region? This right here. So it wants your default region. I made mine East, US East 1. So you could just say default region equals. Now it's not going to say that. It's just going to say what is your default region, and you just type in East. Make sure spelling is very important, the dashes and all that stuff. So it's US east. Now remember, you may not have models in certain regions, so make sure you're in a region that would actually work. And then the last option is your default output. It may not be those exact words, but it's pretty common sense. When you were doing, sorry, it's hard to talk and type. And that's not default, that's default. And that's not even default. That's default. So when you were doing, when we were doing Kubernetes, we wanted our default to be either YAML or JSON, and that's kind of where that comes into play. In this case, we're not using that at all. So but I still put in the word JSON just in case I come across that scenario. Now that will set up your user. Okay, so download the CLR. Let's clean this up a little bit. Download the CLI. CLR is a Windows thing, right? Common language runtime. So download the SAM, which is your API manager, right? And then set up the user. Now these orders don't really matter, right? So download and install. That's pretty common sense. It doesn't really ask anything when you install. The install part was fairly simple. And then set up, yada, yada, yada. And then you give the token, get the token, and then you run this AWS config, and you're going to pass in these 4 values. Okay. And that's kind of it for setting it up. Now that's only setting up AWS. And then to test it, just open a command line and just do something like AWS -- version, and it will tell you what version you're using, right? And do the same thing for the SAM. It's just SAM, SAM. To make sure it's connected to. And that's all you really have to do. That part is simple. Now you can really, and I may do another video, you can run commands directly off the AWS because that's how we did the Kubernetes installs, and that's how we did all that stuff on the other videos. All right, so what's next? So the next thing we've got to do is go into here. Can I just, oh, I probably should have left that open. That's okay. I was going to say, I should have opened up a fresh one so you can see it, but that's okay. So what we can do is we can say new project. Before I do that, I'm sorry, because mine's already there. You want to go to plugins, okay? Go to marketplace and type in, I think it's AWS. Yeah. So I installed the toolkit and I installed core, okay? Both of those should be installed. Notice the check mark. I know it says restart. But anyway, that's not important. You'll have to restart yours, but mine's already installed, so I don't have to do anything. Once it's installed, then it restarts. You'll see this right here. This will allow you to connect to Code Catalyst, which is, like you see, it's a way for developers to share environments inside Amazon. That's kind of cool. JetBrains has their version, Windows has their version, GitHub has their version, but it allows you to do all that and share together. Now, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is just go over here and see, you can sign in and be permanently connected. Same with the Docker, but I'm going to go to projects and I'm going to say new project. Notice AWS this remembers the last thing I did. Now this is, let me express, I could not get PyCharm to work. I may go back and spend time on that, but this is, and I'll show you the problem when we get to it. This is this one. Not that, I'm sorry, that's one I couldn't get to work. This is this one, okay? So the key here is very simple, I guess, but for some reason, whenever I try to put in the SAM, it did not recognize it. And you have to put that in your settings in order for it to know which one, what it's using and where it's at. So if you have that problem, maybe reach out to me, maybe we can figure it out together, but it really was a pain in the butt. So if I go down to here and I click this, I hope it asks me for my settings again. It may not, but it's going to ask you for 2 settings. Okay. One of them is the SAM template, basically where it's run, and then your runtime, which is going to be Python. I'm almost positive it's going to ask me. It kind of has to. Let's try it and see. Okay. Next. Oh yeah, it did. Okay, perfect. So project name is AWS 2. And then, so we want a zip, not an image. That way we can upload it to a zip. You've seen over here where it says upload your project with a zip, right? So that's kind of cool. It's one way we could do it. The other way you can do it is you can deploy it directly from your IDE. Now, I don't know how to do that yet, to be honest with you, but I will by tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick Python 3.11. I could pick 12, but I'm going to go ahead and pick 3.11. Notice it knows the SAM template. We're going to say hello world. It knows the SDK. This down here is where it had issues. I think it's this one, module content. No, somewhere in here, it might have been before this, because mine's already set up, right? So it might have been before this. It wants to know the location of your SAM. And that's where I had a problem. So since we're on a Mac, Windows probably has something similar, but I can say which SAM, and that gives me the location. Okay. The same with the AOS, which AOS, but you shouldn't have issues with those. For some reason, PyCharm could not recognize this even when I put it in there. I don't know why. I think it's a version issue. I think my SAM was probably newer, maybe because I downloaded the latest. I really don't know. I will spend time to figure that out because I use PyCharm more. But the truth is, it doesn't really matter because this one does all of them, so all languages. So we're doing Python. Again, your runtime could be Java, it could be Python, Node.js. In this case, we're doing Python 11. I know I have it installed on my machine. But the truth is, when I noticed the Docker ran, it downloaded a Python container. So I don't think it really cares that you have this on your machine. So let's go ahead and create. And give it a second and see if it creates it. There it goes. And there we go. So this is kind of cool. I'm not sure. Yeah, you deployed some. Yeah, so this may kind of walk you through things. I didn't even read this. Maybe I should. But what I want to show you is your project. So you have events. Now this is a template, right? So you can always change this. The heartbeat of the template is in this YAML file. Now, I'll break this apart in a separate video and run it for me. But if you notice, it's hello world. That's going to be our root here. Our handler is here, Python 3. So the question is, Tim, where's all that? It's in here, okay? So if you know Python, this is starting with an app. And here's that Lambda function we talked about. Here's the dumps, right? Well, when I say dumps, the JSON dump. So basically it brings it back. So this is a very basic thing. It even gives me my requirements file. In this case, I don't have anything. If you don't know Python, that's totally fine, right? It even creates a test for me. So if I want to run test units against my Python, so it gives you a really nice boilerplate here. It even gives me a TOML file. But if I go back to, which you don't need for Python, by the way, you might need it for the package though, because I haven't deployed the package. The other cool thing too is if I click on this AOS toolkit, that's where I'm connected, and I can actually click, like I showed you a few minutes ago, and see my AOS environment. Here's Catalyst, Amazon Qt. Now I plan to test both of these. Most importantly, you notice it knows my default region. Remember we set that up? I don't know what this other stuff is. Maybe I shouldn't click on it. I know what RDS is. We don't have any RDSs running. S3. So Lambda. And I don't have any dynamic DB, but I plan to do videos on that because that'd be kind of cool. But anyway, so that's that. Now let's go ahead and set up a config file for this because this is really cool. So what we want to say is we want to run from a template. And again, it knows this, right? So it knows what that's doing. I can pick from a handler and just kind of put that out like you do before, but we're going to stick with the template. It knows my function is hello world. So if you also notice, here's the SAM CLI, and we're going to say build function inside of a container. That's why I said I don't think you really need that, but that's okay. It still says must specify input. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Our AOS connection. So it knows our default profile. You can have more than one profile. In this case, I only have one. Again, I showed that in the other video. The profiles are actually saved under your user. If you go to your user, you'll have to find it because I'm really not sure. It's been a while. But you'll actually see a folder with a dot, which means it's hidden. And I think it's AOS. And inside that, you'll see your configuration settings. Now, let's see. So let's go back to here. And what I want is to pick a template. How cool is this? And remember, I showed you earlier, there are example templates that you can actually use. So in this case, we're going to do, I want just hello world. Hello world, there it is. And this is just going to basically pass in a basic hello world. So I'm going to say apply. I think I've got everything I need here. So apply, and then okay. And then what we want to do is run this against the template. I want to see if I can get this to pop up again because it's really cool. You'll see it pop up really quick and then go back down. So we're just going to run it with the config. You know that because, see this local thing, if I go edit, this is the config. You do not have to have this. But if you don't have this, then you got to build your own way to call this because it's an API, right? So, and this is actually an AWS API because we're using the Lambda. So let's go ahead and just run it. No point in debugging it. Now, I noticed one time I got an error. Oh, see how I dropped it down real quick and it went away? It created it, it deleted it, and just like that, it worked. I was trying to say, I realized one time I had an error. For some reason, I think it was my internet connection. It had an issue getting the Python container to work, but it really was that fast. So I think it downloads a Python container. I found that somewhere. Invoke image. Yeah. So it grabs this container and it builds it and runs the test, and then it deletes the container. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so that's pretty much it for that. But so what I want to do next is, I talked about in the other video, there were some Bedrock examples, right? So we kind of talked about that. Let's look at those, and I'm going to show you how to run those local. So you don't have to have this like you could delete that, you could delete that. You probably could delete that. I mean, not that one, this one. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe not. So, but anyway, I would leave that one. This one is, again, if you know what a YAML file is, this kind of drives a lot of how it runs. So that's kind of the heartbeat of this to make it work correctly. This run. Now, you probably don't need all that if you just did it old school way, as long as you're connected, but we're using a Lambda here. But what I want to do is not use the Lambda. So I'm going to say run test. And again, this is just Python, right? Oh, wait, what did I do? Is it trying to spin it up? Might have locked it up. There it goes. Okay, so we're going to go over here. We're going to pick on Claudia, and we're going to look at some, you know what? I'm sorry. Let's go to examples. And I want to use Claudia. So, because that's just my favorite. And is there, well, let's do, so we did the video on the, I just want to do a question answering. Sorry. Question answering, maybe. And let me look at the code. So basically, I want to ask it a question, and I want it to respond. Okay. That's really long. Yeah, don't want that one. So what I'm thinking about is like something just as simple as, you know, just a question. Just write me a blog, right? So let's just look at provider. Let's see what Claudia actually provides. Okay. So advanced Q&A, interesting. Advanced Q&A. Build a website. Now keep in mind, you may not have access to all this. Code generation. What is content generation? Oh, this would work. Yeah. So I want to build a blog. That's what I'm looking at. Just something, oops, too far. Just something simple. So we can do this step by step so you can see what's going on. So if you remember in the other video, the first thing we're going to do is do our Bodo. Now the cool thing is it's going to error out because I don't have that installed. Well, it'll error if I start using it. So just like in Python, you've got to go bring that in, right? So pip install Bodo 3. Okay. Now I'm running out of time. I think I have a meeting right now. So we're going to just copy and paste all this. And I'm going to cut the video, and then we'll come back and talk about it. But let me just walk through this real quick. If you remember the Bodo client, that's all from the other video. East one is default. Our model that we're using is here. Now, to recap, I really just copied this whole thing and just pasted it over, if you notice. So it's just a chat, and this should work with any of these. I wish I'd done this when we wrote the other one, but we wrote it from scratch, didn't we? So that's even better. All right, so let's minimize this. The few things I noticed, the one thing I had to do, yeah, no, that's fine. For some reason, this threw me an error last time, but it seemed to work now. Oh, maybe yeah, it's probably because I renamed it something different. Duh, it's right there. Okay, so just to walk through, we create the client. The client here, this again, just walk through it, and it even puts you little notes so you can know. The model we're using here is this one. Okay, if you want to change that, you can. I copied this big message, but if you notice, we start with human. I said in the other video, the Claudia likes to start with human. And then the assistants here is the conversation. It's just sending in the content into this conversation. Looks like a dictionary, but more importantly, that gets passed into here. Okay, my video is a little bit different, so you may want to look at it. Max tokens is here. Our stop sequence is human again. That's space human. A new line human. Sorry. Temperature 1 and top 1. You may want to play with that and your top K. I talked about that on the other videos that I did. But in this case, it really, yeah, I might want to play with it a little bit more. But the point is it outputs the response to the window. Now, I just ran it, and this is what it put out. It took a few seconds to run. I didn't even read what this message was, but that's kind of cool. So what if we put our own message in there, and we just say, what is best practice for monitoring the network? Monitoring a large network. Ugh, can't type, can I? But that's okay. That's always the case. I never can type. Let's see if it's smart enough to, like I know it's for monitoring, but let's see if this can do it for me. There we go. Be nice if that would, like, hey, dummy, this is the word you're trying to get, right? Anyway, so let's see what this does. And let's just run. Now, this is running. It takes a few seconds just to recap. The only thing we did was we got the CLI to work. We got the SAM to work. We did our connection with our token and keys. We connected those two. We installed the toolkit into the JetBrains tool here. And then, and I'm sure Visual Studio Code is the same. And then once that's done, oh, look, I'm sorry, I was watching this. Okay, so cool. It gave me a really good thing here. So what if we say, write a blog on best practices. Okay, so, but the biggest thing is what I want to show you, and here I didn't create a config file like we did the other one. It's not running Docker, it's just running straight code. But notice I'm also not using a Lambda expression either. The big thing here is just a Bodo. But what I did more importantly, oh, that's the command line, I thought that was. So again, we downloaded here, we downloaded the SAM, we gave it permissions. Probably the next one is download the AOS toolkit and JetBrains. Now, let's call it out because the other one didn't work. What is it called? IntelliJ. So that's okay. We'll just say JetBrains, because we might get it working the other one. There we go. So, and I downloaded both. And then I'll show you what that means in a few minutes. I might not need it both, but download both. And then once you start your project, just follow my video because it's pretty simple. But it connected everything. It got everything working. Oh, our blog finished. Let's see what it looks like. So this is our blog. Stay proactive, yada, yada, yada. It's actually not too bad. Here's a draft of the best practices monitoring large network. And that's our blog. So anyway, so that's kind of it. Most importantly, I want to show you how to run these demos that we talked about, right? These, and that's the way I can run them locally. Now, of course, I show you how to do it just with a CLI. And I told you you can run things based off of that. But here, like, I'm not sure how you would do the code. I guess it just knows it's a template somehow. Message, config. Yeah, no idea. We could look at that later. But this is very simple. I just copied and pasted, stuck it in there and ran it, and it worked. So I hope all this works for you. I'll bundle this up and throw it on YouTube and share it with the world. Thanks, everybody.